Hello, my name is Manuel Rios, and today I'll be walking you through a case study we call the Athlete's Breakdown. We're talking about a marathon runner struggling with severe cramps and muscle fatigue during their training. Our athlete is a marathon runner, but they are experiencing some repeated muscle cramps and fatigue. What we found during some medical tests is that there's a low calorie diet and not enough electrolytes being introduced into their system. So in this presentation, what I'll explain is why this happens, how the muscles heal, and how to design a recovery plan to address both the short-term and long-term effects and needs for this marathon runner to continue their training and get to their ultimate goal of running a full marathon. When we talk about the muscles that are being affected, we're talking about the skeletal, the cardiac, and the smooth muscles that are in there. In this particular instance, skeletal muscles are the main tissue involved, which drives the voluntary movements like running. When there aren't enough calories, electrolytes, skeletal muscles can contract and relax, can't retract or relax properly. Like we talked about, low calorie intake and not enough electrolytes. We talk a lot about what you put into is what you get out of it. When I'm coaching sports or with my kids, we're talking about schoolwork and stuff like that. You get out of it what you put into it. It's just the same thing with training with the marathon runner. If you're not putting enough fuel into your tank and you're not putting the proper fuel in there, your body's not going to react to it. So if you're not getting the right electrolytes, you're not getting the right food, and you're working at a calorie deficit that's not cohesive with what you're trying to accomplish, your body will react to it. Thus is what's happening with this particular person right now. And ultimately the results are cramps and premature fatigue. And even there's some instances where you can even get some micro tears from overuse. So if your muscles are contracting and not contracting and expanding the proper way because they're not working correctly, if they're too tight and you go to run or you're breaking them down, you can get micro tears into things. Then now your bones are now calcifying. There's less nutrients that are going into those muscles because they're trying to repair themselves, which could lead to a bigger tear. Now you could pull the muscle, not only just get the cramps out of it. Cardiac and smooth muscles do also play a supportive role in it, but the skeletal muscles are the most affected in this case. So as we go through this, there's going to be a healing process. Okay, so first of all, once this has happening, there's already going to be damage. If you're having repeated cramps and your muscles are fatiguing too much and they're just being completely overused and you're not putting those proper nutrients into your body, you have to start to repair them because they're going to go through a couple of different phases here. The first phase is the inflammatory phase. This is where the body responds to the micro damage that's going on there with swelling, and is trying to clean up those issues, maybe those micro tears that I was speaking about. But as they don't contract and retract perfectly, now they're stuck in a situation to where they need more of the body's healing to come in there and do that. So now it's swelling up to produce more blood flow to that area to increase the healing process of that. So first thing that's going to happen is you're going to get some inflammation there. And then the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to start to repair. Your body's going to start to repair it. We have satellite cells that are actively rebuilding the damaged fibers with new proteins. As we do that and we start to introduce a better diet and more electrolytes and stuff like that, the cells are going to become more active and start to begin to fix those damage and rebuild those damaged areas with new proteins. Finally, what's happening is the remodeling phase. Fibers realign, mature, and muscle begins to gain the strength back. Now, as we begin to get that strength back and the fibers are realigned and they're starting to mature into a more mature fiber, more mature muscle, then we could take a step back and maybe start to train them better. For all that this is happening efficiently, the body does need that proper nutrition and hydration, and it also needs rest. Doing too much too soon can definitely affect all this stuff. Now, this particular runner has already experienced the cramps, has the muscle fatigue. How do we help them get better? So the first thing we got to talk about is recovery plan, the short-term things that we can do and some long-term strategies that we could talk about. First of all, in the short term, start to rehydrating with electrolyte-rich fluids to restore the balance in their body. there's so many hydration electrolyte products out there like that, but making sure that it has the right sodium intake, it fits into your body. It's not something that you can easily expel when you're doing your strenuous exercise. Making sure that you're resting and you're doing some light stretching to reduce those cramping, get those muscles to extract because now they're stuck in a contraction stage and they'll fire back out. Get some light stretching in, elongate those again so that nutrients and stuff can start firing in there and stuff. Now, the next thing you also want to do is increase your caloric intake. We want to make sure that we're doing our caloric intake because we want to make sure that the body has enough energy to recover. Like I said before, what you put in is what you're going to get out. So you got to increase that to get more calories into your body to help you recover. Now, long-term stuff, you want to start developing a structured nutrition hydration plan that is tailored to what you're trying to accomplish. Are you eating the right foods for it? Do you have the proper hydration plan? You know, the 8 cups of water probably isn't going to cut it for a marathon runner. Are you supplementing electrolytes in your system? How do you get electrolytes rapidly? Different things like that you're structured so your body is properly fueled to do these things. Also, managing your training loads, like I said earlier, overdoing it too fast, too soon, following a structured plan that helps you build to longer distances to help you get to that certain point. I've been fortunate enough that in my day I ran a half marathon, and I have a lot of friends that are avid runners. They helped put me on a training schedule to where I didn't go out and just run 6 miles and my body's completely crashed and then I couldn't do it anymore. Because that's what happened the first time I tried to do it. Try to go out there. Actually, I was struggling with cramps, and it ended up hurting my Achilles because my body wasn't nourished enough and it broke down. My load was too much on my body. So using a training load that fits what your need is and you can build into it based off the level of what you're at in your training. Also using recovery techniques. Sports massage is huge. I was never a big proponent of it. I started getting them when I was running. The second time I tried running and actually ran my half marathon, I invested into a foam roller. I have a Theragun. I have all these different contractions that help me recover anytime I do any type of workout. And then most importantly, you got to make sure you're getting your sleep. Quality sleep is huge. Letting your body completely unwind and relax and heal itself is imperative to what you're trying to accomplish. Also, to check in with doctors, right? There's physical therapists, there's trainers, chiropractors. I use a thing called Stretch Lab. I go in there and do assisted stretching, so I'm getting a deeper stretch than I would get on my own. Seeing these things to help my body recover sooner and faster, so I can load, or this is what this person can do as well, to make sure that their body is well taken care of. Now, the body is a beautiful thing that our Creator has given us. The healing process is remarkable, and that design reflects the restoration and renewal of God and what He's given to us. Just as muscles break down and rebuild stronger, so does our faith. It tells us that God restores and strengthens us through our life challenges. This is an opportunity, it's all part of the plan. I believe God wants you to be healthy and happy, but He also made us withstand certain things and to repair our body in a certain way. That when we start to break down, we still have an opportunity to regrow. And we have these challenges. And Isaiah 40:30 reminds us, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will run and not grow weary. You're going to have setbacks and you have to reassess yourself. Just like God, sometimes you question or feel weary about your strength in Him, but if you always return back to Him, you will grow stronger. Same thing with training, same thing with your body. You might overwork it and you might think, oh, my body cannot do it. It can. You just need to do the proper training, proper nutrition, and really understand how your body is going to work. These are the parallels that were in the athlete's journey. It takes discipline, nourishment, and trusting God's provisions. So just the same thing with faith, right? You got to have discipline in it. You got to nourish that faith, and you got to have trust in God's provision. So with all that being said, in conclusion, eat well, sleep well, and keep your faith strong with God. Thank you.